Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now guys, there are over 250 ethnic groups within the Nigerian space, and I, as a YouTube political channel, I comment on whoever is trending in the news. But the one thing that I have noticed is that anytime I do a video on the Igbo community or with an Igbo person being the topic, one thing is guaranteed, and this thing never fails. There are characters within that community that will come into my comment section and start to beat war drums. But regardless, guys, I bring you this. 2023 presidency, ex-SGF Lawal says Ndigbos are their own enemies, not the North. So 2023 presidency, ex-SGF Lawal says Ndigbos are their own enemies, not the North. So now let's get into what the grass cutter has to say. Babachir Lawal, a former secretary to the government of the Federation SFG, who was sacked over alleged fraud, has faulted the notion that the North had been against a politician from the Southeast emerging as the president of Nigeria. He suggested that the Igbo people of the Southeast instead have been their own enemies, not uniting to ensure the emergence of a Nigerian president of Igbo extraction. They, the Igbos, have not been working together to actualize an Igbo presidency, he said. Lawal said he could not see the Southeast producing the president of Nigeria in 2023 because the region's chances of getting the nominations of one of the major political parties might not be feasible because politicians from the region had yet to reach an agreement. Speaking in an interview with journalists in Yola, Adamawa State, Lawal, who said he was in support that power should return to the South, pointed out that Tinubu possessed the qualities of a good modern president to succeed President Buhari in 2023. By 2023, when Buhari's tenure will be over, he will go back to Daura to face his cows like I am doing. But you see, every leader must leave behind a legacy. I would like to see that he leaves behind a legacy of achievement. And then he goes on to speak about Bola Tinubu, which I've already covered in another video, so I'm not going to repeat that here, but I'll point you to the other video instead. But the point really that this guy is making, which is a point now that has to be of consideration within the Igbo space, because this is something that I have referenced severally on this channel, and every time that I referenced it, I always get all this thumping behavior from the Igbo community in the comment section. So that's why I prefaced my video with the intro that I did, that is guaranteed that they will come again and do unzobu unzobu. But now this, you have to pay attention. When everybody is saying the same thing, you have to pay attention, because the Igbo communities are not even united in their want. So you have elements within the Igbo community who are saying that the Igbos are marginalized and they have to have a turn at the presidency because they've not had a turn yet, ever, because of course we've already discounted Nnamdi Azikiwe, who was just a ceremonial president, because Ahmedu Bello, of course, was really the ruler of Nigeria at that time. So the Igbos have never had a president in Nigeria, and they should, because that has to be corrected. But then, of course, within that Igbo community, you have the secessionist element as well, who are very vocal and very militant, led by Nnamdi Kanu, and they're agitating for something else as well. And then within that structure also, you have this Igbo element as well, who are just happy to collect the dollars and then pander to the northerners, and I'm talking the Okorochas and the Ametis, etc. So you have this disjointed structure within the Igbo community where they cannot coalesce behind one unifying voice, and there's nobody coalesced, by the way, behind one unifying voice. But the voices in Nigeria always have a dominant echo. So there's always a dominant echo within all all of the voices in Nigeria. And if we break the Nigerian voices into 3 strands, I know that there are 250 ethnicities in the country, as I said, but broadly, there's just 3 major ethnic groupings within Nigeria. So we count the Hausa Fulanis as one. Of course, I know that there are 2 separate entities. The Hausas and the Fulanis are different people, but for the intentions of Nigeria, we count them as one. So that's one voice. Then we have the Yorubas also as one voice. Of course, for every two Yoruba person, there are 3 opinions. Yorubas don't really agree on much, but we count them as one anyway. And then we count the Ndigbos as one. Now, if you go to the north, their own thing above all else is that they want to continue to rule Nigeria for as long as they can, using anything that is within their powers to continue to do that. And they all converge behind that, and then having then seized charge of the Nigerian state, they can do their own internal fighting amongst themselves, but they always unite behind that singularity of that want. Now, the Yorubas, they like business one, and then they like development too, but then they also want to have that presidency, because of course they know that the president of Nigeria is the most powerful presidency in the world, and that is really where change is effected. And really, the Yorubas also know how to play the dynamics of the Nigerian game, so they never really go for this aggressive secessionists, because of course we have the Oduduwa movement who wants to secede, but their voices don't echo as loudly as Nnamdi Kanu, etc. But then within Yoruba land, of course, also we have a push towards the presidency, and we have put in place now. And this power shift, by the way, was a Yoruba thing that was created because, of course, the agitation after what happened to Abiola was what pushed it through. And of course, then when power transits to the south, it's then a contention between the Igbos and the Yorubas. But then now we go to the Igbos. There's never really a unifying or a united voice for the Igbos. So they have this Ndigbo social cultural thing, where the intention is that they will converge under that, but that never really ever happens. So the Igbos are not really converged under Ndigbo, definitely not. And Nnamdi Kanu, of course, is a separate entity in himself, so he is agitating for whatever he's agitating for, because I'm not really still clear on what Nnamdi Kanu wants, because I saw an interview, and this is going back maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, or maybe even longer. I saw an interview that Kadira Ahmed did with Nnamdi Kanu, and what he was agitating for and doubling down on at that time, and this is just barely 2 years ago, what this Nnamdi Kanu guy was agitating for at that time was a confederation. So he was not agitating at that time, and if I can find that interview, I will put a link in the comment section so nobody has to take my word for anything. What Nnamdi Kanu was agitating for at that time was a confederation. What he wanted was a confluence of different existing nations under a unifying Nigerian umbrella, where the center is loose but the sub-regions are strong. So this is what they are now calling devolution of power and restructuring and everything. So it was effectively a restructuring proponent barely 2 years ago. So you guys can see why I don't really rate him. So the Igbos now, when I say I don't really rate this Nnamdi Kanu guy, they immediately come into my comment section shouting all the tribal nonsense and thumping as usual, nzobo and whatnot. But all that doesn't really matter. We have to go with what is on the ground, because this is a guy that was speaking an entirely different language barely 3 years ago, and his language now is 360 degrees on the back of that view that he had barely 3 years ago. So then how then can you then take that seriously, and then you add all this Jubril thing that he does to all of that, and then you really think what is really going on with this guy? So this is why some people do not rate him, and you can go whatever Ndigbo, but really these are some of the things that people look at not to rate this Nnamdi Kanu as highly as the people who are fanatically his followers rate him, because the people who follow him, of course, follow him fanatically, and that is, of course, again evidenced by this Jubril thing. So you have to have some sort of extreme in you for somebody to wake up and tell you that Buhari that you have known all of your life, because pretty much every Nigerian has known Buhari all of their adult life, is now suddenly Jubril, and then you go around and then starting, you know, so that's some sort of, I'm not sure what is going on in those quarters, but really these are the things that people look at, and then they're dismissive towards this whole thing that they're doing with Nnamdi Kanu and whatever. But it's not really the Nnamdi Kanu narrative that we're having in this video. What we're talking about in this video is what this Babachir Lawal has to say, a man that I don't rate in any sense, and in any way I have a 0 rating for somebody like Babachir Lawal. But even if you have 0 rating for somebody or anybody, you cannot have 0 rating for logic and reasoning. And what this guy has to say, it stands to logic and reason, because what he's saying is not saying anything especially original. This is what people have been saying pretty much since forever, that this whole Igbo structure has to coalesce behind one identity, so that everybody then has this understanding of it, because the next president of Nigeria in 2023 should be an Igbo man. Absolutely no question about that. The next president of Nigeria should be an Igbo man. It is right, it is proper, it is time, and it should not be the next time round. The Yorubas have had 2 goals. We've had Obasanjo twice. The Hausas have had it forever. So the one name that we've not had is an Igbo person. So the time is now right. If we're saying we are one country and everybody has the same entitlements, the time is now right, and 2023 is that time for an Igbo president. There's absolutely no excuse anymore, or no reason why this should not be the case. And the only thing really preventing this from being the case are the Igbos themselves. The Igbos themselves and nobody else. The North certainly don't want an Igbo president, but if the Igbos converge behind one person and one argument, then really there's very little that the North can do about it, because the space is there for the Igbos, and there's very little that the Yorubas can do about it as well, because the space is also there for the Igbos. We cannot say that we're one country and a certain section of the country is permanently excluded from any of the opportunities that are available within that country. So all of the argument for an Igbo president is there, and the only thing stopping that are the Igbos themselves. Conversations in the comment section. Nzobu enyi ba enyi. Let me start it off, because I know already the amount of abuse that I'm going to get. But nevertheless, once you've done the abuse, then come to the point that I am making and apply reason and logic as to why I might be right or wrong. You can abuse me, I don't mind that. Of course, I'd rather you don't, but if you want to, then you can. But having done that, then say something sensible and tangible and intelligent, so you are then able to counter me with reason and logic, rather than just leave abuse, which is just easily done. Any fool can leave abuse. A fool can call somebody an idiot. That's very easy to say, but then having to explain why that person is an idiot will require a bit more of a tasking of the mind. So click on the red subscribe button so it turns gray. The bell button notifies you every time I drop a new video. Then come task your mind in the comment section. So I'll leave you here. Join you in the comment section, but here I say peace.